So what is going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Power of the Primes Dinobots. These guys range from Deluxe to Voyager, as per usual. 4 Deluxes and a Voyager, because these guys are combiners. And we'll get to that eventually. Now, I was going to say, where's Slash? I don't own Slash. I do own Cindersaur, but I don't own Slash. And the reason I don't own Slash is because I just didn't see a reason of buying Slash, as she doesn't combine with the combiner in any way, shape, or form. Like, she doesn't form like a chest piece or a back piece or anything. She's just kind of a thing that exists. Just to exist. She doesn't even form like a weapon. She just kind of is a thing. So I just never got her, and I got Cindersaur for no reason except it was cheap. So I was like, okay, I'll buy Cindersaur. Other than that, though, we have our awesome combiner individuals here. And these guys are pretty alright. They're not the best things in the world, but, you know, they're not the worst. As far as these guys go, I mean, they're perfectly fine Dinobots, except now we're getting leader class ones that are, like, 10 times better, but they're also, like, the same price as this whole combiner was. So that's just kind of my thing. They're not the same price as this combiner was. This combiner is probably around $150 to complete at the time. Actually, not even. That would be $23 for each deluxe and then like $35 for the Voyager, so it wasn't even that. So I mean, as far as this goes, we're gonna take a look at my least favorite to favorite for deluxes. So least favorite, starting it off, is your boy Slug. Now he is called Slug, not Slag, as he has multiple different names. We know this whole thing. Sometimes he's Slug, sometimes he's Slag, sometimes he's Snarl. He changes names so consistently, it's crazy. And he is one of the ones that always gets done. They always seem to like doing Grimlock and then Swoop and then this guy. We're going to call him Slug now, I guess, because that's what he's called, I guess. As far as Slug goes, the reason I think he's kind of the worst is he's just fine. He was released in Wave 1. They split these guys up, weirdly enough. Again, kind of like the first Combiner Wars wave. They put Grimlock, Swoop, and Slug in the first wave, but then they also released Jazz and Dreadwind. We already took a look at Dreadwind and his partner, Darkwing. I still don't really know how to link videos because I'm kind of new to the whole YouTube thing. But they're up on the channel if you want to go watch that video. And as far as this goes, I mean, yeah, this guy's pretty alright. He has a gun. They all have the exact same little shield bit, which we'll take a look at one time because it's all the exact same. With no difference. And no, I'm not going to show up putting on the chest because it looks stupid and doesn't do anything anyway. Start with the shield bit. There's this one. It's the same thing for all of them. Only one is different, and that is Snarl's has a gold like handle bit, and that's it. They all have this same clear bit gun thing. And that is all. That's all they do. Him and Sludge come with this gun, which is relatively alright looking. I mean, it's good enough for a gun. But only 2 of them come with guns and 2 of them come with swords. And, I mean, it's fine enough, I guess. They come with 2 swords. As far as the details on this guy go, though, I mean, he is red and silver. Looks good. The articulation on every single one of these guys is the same. So we're going to cover the articulation with Slug here, and then I'm going to keep going through them. Now, his head's a bit restricted because his head's covered, but they all have head movement. Forward and back, outward, a swivel at the arm, an elbow joint, a waist rotation, forward and back, a knee joint, and a swivel. That is all they have. Other than that, though, looks pretty solid. Now to take a look at the second worst. Yay, this guy is literally a remold of Slug. That's why he's the second worst. And the reason I say Sludge is a little bit better is I just kind of like his design more, even though he has the wings way too far down. Like they're, look at that backpack. I don't really even show Slug's backpack, but he doesn't really have one. He just has a dinosaur on his back. For him, he has these wings that should be up here, but they're down there. And then his dino head, which he usually would have anyway, so it's fine. He comes with the exact same gun, so there's no point in showing it. As far as differences go, they changed out the dino legs, but the actual leg bits themselves are the exact same, along with the crotch is the exact same. So the whole lower half of the body is the same as him except for these legs. The upper parts are also quite similar. The shoulders are the exact same, but the arm bit itself is different. As you can see here, if we bring him in, they are different to a point. This one has 3 claws, this one has 2. Forearm sections are different. And the chest piece and everything's different, and that's about it. Other than that, he's pretty much just a rehash of him, which is fine. Looking at the head sculpt on him, he kind of is grumpy. Also a bit of scuffage on his thing up here, but that's because of transformation. And that's him. So let's look at Snarl next. Snarl as a figure is fine, but he has multiple issues. And what are those issues? Well, this whole thing has they're trying to do the whole G1 thing where they had like the gold inside the translucent plastic. But this guy's arms are going to disintegrate in about 5 years at this rate. And it seems like, why? This gold plastic I don't trust. It looks like the gold plastic that'll break. Also, his entire shoulder joint is translucent. So this guy's arms are going to fall off. And that's how that's going to go. They're just going to fall off. There's nothing I can do about it. They made him so poorly with that choice. I don't know why they went with gold and translucent. It's just an explosion waiting to happen at this rate. And there's that little gold handle I mentioned. I'm just putting all these off to the side because there's no point in them. He comes with a clear sword, which looks pretty alright. Nothing too special about it. It is better than Swoop's sword in my opinion, but that's what it does. As far as he goes, he has his little tail across the back, as he usually does. They all have their trademark things, even though Sledge's wings are a bit low. Turning him around, he's the only one that has the Dino bit on the legs, opposed to the top half, because he transforms backwards, unlike the other ones. All the other ones' heads end up in the Dino head themselves. He doesn't, so he just transforms backwards. And he's a bit odd, but he feels a bit toyish, and that's what I'm okay with. And that's kind of why I like him a lot. He just feels toyish. And then we have Swoop, who's easily the best deluxe by 1.5 miles. He just is. There's no debating it. As far as his accessory goes, he also has a clear sword, but they painted it red for whatever reason. And it looks pretty good, I guess, you know. And he also has the thing, but he has storage for it. It stores on his back really nicely. Good job, Hasbro. So he has good storage for that, not to mention he has the awesome wings, because of course he does. And I mean, he just is the best deluxe class by 1 mile. It just is. He's not the best limb, though, but he is the best deluxe class. And they did repurpose him for one of the, why am I forgetting the name of them? The Abominous Crew. Why am I forgetting the name of them? The Horrorcons? I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, right? The Horrorcons? But, yeah. So now let's take a look at Big Grim. As far as Big Grim goes, he's pretty solid. He actually is a really nice-looking Grimlock. His accessories include 2 feet things, which I mentioned in the Inferno review when we reviewed him. And he comes with, much like Inferno did, I'm going to have to take it off screen. I don't want to knock everything over, including the camera. Getting that out. There we go. So he comes with a Enigma of Combination. I know this one's the Enigma of Combination. And that can go in anything. It can go in his feet bits. And it can go in any one of these guys' bit as well, if you care to put it in there. It's just a hunk of plastic. It's all it is. It's nothing special. If you ever lost it, you're not missing anything. These things are nothing. They literally are nothing. And Grimlock's weapons are literally nothing. They're just the feet of the Combiner. That's all they are. Man. They really missed out not giving Grimlock a sword. Oh, I just knocked over Swoop. As far as Grim goes, I mean, Grim's just the best of the bunch. He really is the best of the bunch. He's the only one who I can think of that would perform well on his own, because he doesn't really have any glaring compromises. Like, he does have the little ports everywhere, but, like, they're not in, like, the worst spots ever. Like, they're on his elbows and his feet. Wow. Terrible spots for them. Real bad. I mean, as far as his head goes, he is just Grimlock. He's Grimlock. There he is. Can't really see him that well. It's a bit dark. But yes, he has the red visor. And he's just Grimlock. That's what he is. This guy just looks like Grimlock. He's the best one. He's the best Grimlock. Other than, like, the new one. I'm just going to say that right now. He's the best looking G1-ish Grimlock. Other than the Studio Series Leader Class one that we got not too long ago. So yeah, that's all of the deluxes and Grimlock. Oh, I never showed his articulation, I guess, before we do anything else. Rotation at the head, outward, forward, back on a ratchet. Nice double elbow. Along with a swivel. Forward and back on a ratchet, outward on a ratchet, knee joints on a ratchet, and waists on a ratchet. And that's him. That's his articulation. He also, his entire chest is translucent plastic. I just thought I would mention that to do that little look that they're going for. Which, the look works, I'm not going to lie. It looks nice, and it does look good, but it makes me worry. So let's get into the transformation for these guys, starting with, of course, a Slug. But before we get into the transformation, we're just going to steal everybody's accessories because they don't matter. Oh, there goes Swoop again. So we're just going to take everyone's accessories, put them in a pile over there, off to the side so you just can't see it. It's just a giant pile of fists and feet and guns and swords. So Slug's transformation is pretty easy all around. It's not that hard. So I'll come to the chest, flip up the mouth bit. That's the simplest part of the entire thing. And then come to the arms here, flip in the hands. And that's it for that. That's not even a joke. Come to the legs here. Undo that tail. And these heel bits kind of control the legs. So you're going to want to make sure that they move. Open up those bits and then fold in the legs like that. And you will get the back end of it. And flip up the tail bits and peg them together. And then they will form Triceratops. So there's the Triceratops mode. And we're just going to go left to right at this point. For Swoop here, pretty simple as well. Flip up the legs. He is probably the simplest of the bunch. And he does have two different forms. So he has two forms, which we'll talk about when we get to him. Now his arms, they peg into the sides. There's slots there, and then there's the peg on the inside of the arm. They will peg in like so. And then you're going to take the legs and fold them up. And you can take the wings and fold them in. And then come to the back and flip out his feet. And there is the pterodactyl form. And now to do Sludge. Sludge is quite similar to Slug. For obvious reasons, like I mentioned, they're pretty much just mold brothers at this point. The upper half's completely different on Slug, but the bottom half works the exact same. So you just flip out the back sections. He doesn't have the heel bits, though. Actually, he does have them. They're just folded up. But the way he works is entirely different. You actually have to rotate the waist to do him. There's a ton of different stuff with this guy. Take the arms and fold them up until you have enough clearance to get these bits in, like that, and they'll fold up. These actually have stress marks on them, and they're getting really loose, so it's a bit scary because they keep moving downward because they're in such a weird, awkward spot. You're going to peg in that bit, and you'll come to the tail, and do that, come to the legs, rotate them around this time. And come up here to the head, flip that up over his robot head, and then put those down, and there's his Bronto mode. And then we come to Snarl. So for Snarl, you're going to come to the back, take the tail bit, and then flip the head in, and then you're going to collapse the tail bits together, and then flip them down over the head. Flip up those little spikes there. Come to the arms, flip them back, like so. And then you're going to come into the legs, and you're just going to do the whole flip around we've been doing for like 90% of this. Yeah, they really don't transform in very unique ways. They're combiner limbs. They are literally the most pure embodiment of combiner limbs. There's no special transformation with these guys. Like, I guarantee a toddler could do these with ease. They're that simple. These deluxes are really easy to transform. So there is the Stego. And now to do the king of the dinosaurs, Grimlock. First thing I'm going to do with Grimlock, flip in his fists, like so. They'll have fists flipping in, which is nice. Take his legs, combine them together. Come around back and fold down the tail, like so. And then you're going to come up to the chest and you're going to pull it down. And that's going to cover over the hip sections of the legs. Then you're going to take the back sections, collapse them around where the chest was, fold up the head, and then you're going to peg those together and make sure that these are bent at his tail is bent enough so he can actually stand properly. There's Grimlock, who's also quite simple, but is a lot more fun to do than the others. And there is your Dino Squadron. And as far as the Dino Squadron goes, I mean, they all look good, if not tiny. That's kind of the problem, is they're tiny. They're not big, they're really small, and that's kind of the worst bit. So looking at Snarl first, he's a bit odd. He's just kind of a Stegosaurus. He looks nice with all the spikes. His tail is weird, though, because it just goes boom. It just goes down. He does look nice, though, I guess. Nothing really too special. The legs move on him. Nothing at the head. That's all I really have to say about him. Nothing too special. Sludge is pretty much the same thing, but in reverse, because all the arm joints are up in the front instead of the back, so his back only go forward and back. He can rotate his head and open his mouth just a tiny bit. That's it. That's nice. Slug here is pretty good. I mean, same thing that applied to him. Same exact articulation, including the mouth. I mean, they look decent enough. You know? They're just not anyone's favorite Dinobot. Never the Dinobot with the most attention to them. So whether this is landed swoop, but you can also do flying swoop. And flying swoop just does that. Woohoo, flying swoop. Very nice, very awesome. That's what he does. And of course, he's the only blue-chested one. But they did release a red-chested version as like a weird exclusive. That did happen. So that's him. Nothing really crazy going on. He just looks like Swoop. And Grimlock, the Thicosaurus Rex here. He's just wide. He is wide. Like his top half's so skinny and it just goes boom. Like all the weight just went to the legs. His mouth does open, of course. He does have a sticker on his head, which is the Autobot logo. I mean, he looks alright, except for the plateau tail here. Even from the back, I mean, it's pretty fine. They look good enough. In the Dino forms. I don't know what the modes most people care about, but I'd still display them in robot mode, because I'm a weirdo. So, let's get into the combination, because of course there's combinations involved, like I mentioned. First up, we got the feet. So the feet have two forms you can use. So there is the heels. So you have two extras of the like shield bits. You have two extra ones, no getting around. You can either use them as heels, which will plug into the back. We can get them to. That one did not want to go. This one will. There we go. So you can have these big old feet, which are way more stable. Or you can use them to fill out the top of the torso. I use them as torso fillers. I do not use them like that. So now let's do our legs. And I know someone's like, who do you use for the legs? Obviously these two, right? Wrong. Why don't I use them too? Because Swoop here can't be an arm. He just keeps cracking in half. So Swoop ends up being a leg in my version. So transform Swoop, you're just going to fold those down like that. Come to the back. and take his legs, and then you're going to break them apart. And then they're going to collapse down into that, so they form generic combiner limbs. You thought you were done with generic combiner limb transformations? No. And I'm going to take his wings, and you're going to straighten them down, and then they peg into the shoulders like that. You're going to come back. And the thing with the combiner peg is those wing bits sometimes will block it. So then I'm going to give him his foot bit, and there is one leg. Obviously, we're going to need a boost because combiner, that's just how it is. We always need a boost when we do a combiner. That's just an inevitability. So for Slug, Slug is 10 times easier. Or not Slug, Snarl. Snarl's 10 times easier. Take his arm and flip it up as if you're going into robot mode. So flip it up like that, and then rotate it. And then there's a slot on the arm right there. And the peg there, it's a bit unfocused, but just fold up his leg like that. Take his tail, fold it up, come to the back, fold up his peg, and then fold back his head. And there is the other leg for Volcanicus. Now we have Slug and Snarl. This is Sludge. Confusing them now because this guy has too many names and the names are too similar between these two. They really are. So to transform him, you're going to want to basically revert the bottom half. Not the top half, the bottom half. The top half will remain the same. You don't do anything to it except for the head. And we'll get to the head in a minute. So you're going to take the tail bits and you're going to fold them inward like so. And they're just going to rest there like that. And then you're going to take his dino legs, fold them back. Now for his arms, they just kind of fold back a little bit. Like so. And of course, he's going to need some fists. So take those. Attempt to get those out. There we go. Now, me personally, I use the swords as the main primary weapons of Volcanicus because, yeah, they don't give him a gun. Now, the Combiner Wars guys always attempted to give the Combiners a weapon. But in this Power of the Primes line, they decided, no, we don't want to give them weapons. So you're going to do that with the shoulders. Now, I did have to modify this guy as he didn't like to move. He wouldn't become a lag mode. So I had to, like, file down this bit a little bit. Worked perfectly well and good, though. So there's the arm. There's the left arm. I guess we should put the left arm on the left side. And then we have our left leg. So to do our left leg here, we're going to come to the back, unpeg it. And then you're going to boom, boom. And then you're going to fold in the tail again. The exact same process, except the tail sits a little lower. That is all. Rotate them around. And give them a hand bit. And then give them a sword. I'm going to give them snarls because I already used swoops, obviously. And I'm going to take that bit to fill out the hand and make it look like an actual normal hand. So then you're going to come to the back here and rotate these around. There is a little tiny slot, and then there's the peg there. And I just popped off the arm. There we go. And then come to the dino head up here and rotate it back. Push it back like that. Push it out. And then pull that out. And there is your dino arms and legs. So let's get into the main torso assembly, shall we? Also, before we do anything to move on, to store the guns, I usually just put them on the arms that have the guns. So I just usually attach them into their hands. That's all I do. Nothing special. Nothing crazy. So now to do the torso of Volcanicus. The first thing I'm going to do is come to Grimlock and pull out his arm bits, and then pull the robot torso upward. And once you do that, you're going to take the robot arms and hold them out like that. Now, something I'm going to recommend you do, if you own this guy, fold out the fists. It is a randomly good help to keep him be a bit more stable. If you're noticing, I'm saying stability a lot with this guy because the torso is the worst part of this figure. Not the arms, the torso. So you're going to do that, you're going to take the waist, and it's going to pull up and then clip into the front of the chest. So, before we do anything else, though, come to the arms, hold them in, and they will fold in eventually. I'm trying not to hit the camera while I do this. Go. And then you're going to fold those in like so. And then you're going to fold these bits down over top of them. You're going to pull these out on the soft little ratchets that they're on. Flip up his tail bits, fold them out. You want to make sure they're at a good enough ratio. Now, you're going to take the weird bits here, and you're going to, for me, I like to peg them into the chest, just so it fills out the sides a bit more. It's a bit of cheating, but it is a recommended spot you can put them. See, there's a port right there where they fit in. And they're really weird to get in, but you can get them in eventually. See, there we go. We got that one in. So now the torso's a bit more filled out, but you're probably saying, well, that looks a bit funny. That's because the crotch isn't flipped down. So there is the crotch flipped down. That's probably why it was being so weird to get into place. So now to start the assembly of them, take your Swoop and put him on as a leg, like I mentioned. So Swoop is a leg, and so is Snarl. And we're going to do a little... Okay, and we're back. It was actually really easy to set up for some reason. So we're then going to come up here, and we're going to put on our arms, which are going to immediately pull the shoulders apart because they're too heavy. And then we're going to come up here to the top, and then we're going to come in, and we're going to flip out some bits, and then the head is going to just come out of the chest. And there is Volcanicus, which we're getting a second one of somehow. And yeah, he's a pretty intriguing guy, and I do think he does look good. And it might be just because he has a good color scheme. Everybody matches. That's the thing. Everybody has silver, gold, and red in them, so they all match, and the camera's a bit on... There we go. It was a bit crooked. And I mean, they all match up. They all look good. It's a good-looking combiner, but it does have its issues, like its stability. You touch this guy, he's falling apart. I'm telling you right now. If I even attempt to move this arm, it's going to rip the whole torso apart. And I do like the torso, and I do like the T-Rex head, but we're getting a new one of the little Legion guys, and they're using, instead of Grimlock, they're using Slug's head as their crest. And I actually think the Triceratops works way better as the main chest guy. Bringing back this bit, you can put it on the chest by opening Grimlock's mouth, and it looks really stupid. You plug it into his mouth, and ta-da! Yeah, you get this really lame-looking bit. Personally, what I like to do with it is open up the head, and there's a hollow space in there. So I just drop it in there, and that's why I haven't lost it. But yeah. It's pretty much him. He has his combiner articulation, so forward and back, outward, double elbow and the swivel. He does have a waist. He does have a rotation at the head. And his legs do all the leg things. I'm not going to do them because I'm scared he's going to fall over. But yes, he does all the leg things. And you can't really see his head. There it is. There's his head. His head actually looks really cool, in my opinion. I do really like it. He almost just fell over. That would have been a disaster. Oh, that's because Swoop's cracking in two. But as far as Volcanicus goes, he's decent. You know, he's not the best combiner ever, but he's decent. Let's just get to the thoughts. That pretty much was my thoughts. He's decent. He's not the best thing in the world, but he's not terrible. As far as my rating for the figures go, every single deluxe is getting a 3. They're all just fine. They're not good. They're not bad. They're just fine. Grimlock gets a 3.5 because he's actually decent, and he actually tries to be Grimlock. But the Dino mode's a bit too thick, and the chest mode's actually not that good. So, deductions there for that. And I mean, as far as the combine mode goes, the combine mode's getting a 3 too. It's just not crazy. It's fine. I mean, it's decent. So yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on him. Thank you guys for 20 subscribers, and thank you guys for the uptick in views. I wasn't really expecting that. But this has been Eilt Elite signing out.